I'm Cody, I'm the preacher here. An added announcement that we don't have back there. So it's that time of year again, even though it's the dead of winter. There are plans for camps this summer, and there'll be a training overnight at Camp Neades for anybody who wants to be a counselor this coming summer. Or dishwasher, or trash taker-outer, okay. Or director? No, okay, okay. 6th through 12th graders are qualify for this, and if you want to, then you can sign up for this overnight, March the 1st, Friday night, and then coming back home on Saturday the 2nd. And so I'm going to have you go ahead and put this back on the table because there's a QR code here. We'll put this in the email. There's a QR code there if you want to go ahead and scan that and register to do that. That would be a lot of fun. And what great work that is. And I don't know about you guys, but campers have fun at camp, but counselors have more fun at camp, okay? So if you're in the age group that you qualify, I encourage you to do that. We have teen bowling today after services. I don't know if you know this. This is a cooperative event with the Overland Church. So their teens are going to join our teens, and we're going to go bowling over on Natural Bridge. And we got to wrap up before the football game today, but we're going to enjoy pizza over there. And so if you meant to sign up but didn't, you can still come, but it's $10 a person. For shoe rental and 2 games of bowling and pizza. So see me afterwards. I'm assuming that everybody has transportation over there and knows how to get to Kingpin Lanes over on Natural Bridge. If you don't, you need to see me because I'm going to assume that we're just going to meet over there. So we'll if you don't, come see me and we'll get all that arranged. There's also a shower for Alex and Cassidy on February 11th. This is for the whole church. Donna? Busy Bee. Do you know where those papers are? Back here? Okay. So there are papers over here for you to write down your wise advice, counsel for them as they're getting married. Now, come on, be optimistic, okay? Don't come with 20 years of cynicism, okay? Come with some hopeful advice there. But there's no gifts. It's just come and enjoy the time together. But it's helpful to register so we know how much food to prepare and all that stuff. You can register back there, I think, or you can register online as well. So make sure that you do that. They're a great couple. In fact, they joined us yesterday and helped us move Susan White. Oh, no. I didn't ask for it yet. Helped us move Susan White from her 2-story apartment condo to a 2nd-story apartment. It was a 2 Tylenol move. And I'm going to miss some people, forgive me for that, but Bruce and Donna and Peter and Lydia, Mary Lou and Dennis, Woody and Kathy, Colton, Marcia, Alex and Cassidy, David Briggs. Did I miss anybody? Who? Nancy. Oh, yeah, Nancy brought the donuts, so we can't forget that. And there was a lot of heavy stuff to move. We didn't have to move the piano, but we moved heavy furniture, multiple floors, and put it into place. But I got to tell you, the people that I want to give the most credit to are those that moved the longer burger basket. And that's the picture here. David and Alex were in charge of that, and I really appreciate that. David, that's about the only thing that you lifted the whole day, wasn't it? I really appreciate that. Early in Jesus' ministry, he stood on a mountainside near the Sea of Galilee. And he delivered what would become his most famous sermon, recorded in Matthew's Gospel, 3 chapters there, longest sermon of Jesus recorded, known as the Sermon on the Mount. And Tim and Heath did a series of classes on that, very eye-opening and inspirational. You think about I don't know what your favorite parts are, but the Beatitudes that begin that great sermon, how just throughout it, Jesus was calling people not just to obey the letter of the law, but to drill down and understand the heart issues that lead to obedience or disobedience, and to change the heart from inside. Talked about how to overcome worry in our lives. Did you help teach this class? Who did I say? There you go. I apologize, man. It's okay. Learn the comfort of a simple prayer. Even enjoyed a parable about building your foundation of life on bedrock and not sand. But one of the most moving parts of that, movie is not the right word, one of the most inspiring parts of that whole sermon was near the beginning, where Jesus, just in a few sentences, talks about who we are and what he calls us to be, to accomplish for him. And it begins with this phrase: you are the light of the world. It's such a well-known statement. We probably just move on. You know, it's just one of those religious phrases we just agree to. But I want you to think about it for a few moments, because Jesus is saying we are light. And I don't know that we appreciate light. I mean, we live in a world that is just inundated with light. It doesn't matter if it's daytime or nighttime. There are lights everywhere. The street lights are on. Your iPhone lights are on. The glowing Alexa light is on. There's light everywhere. But when we talk about darkness, most of the time we just mean less light than we're used to. So I'm going to do a little geography quiz on you here, okay? I want to show you a picture, and you tell me where this is. Florida. Yeah. That right there is Disney World. You see it? Okay. That's where all your money's going, right there, okay? How about this picture? New York. Yeah. Boston is on up the way there. New York. Yeah. These are nighttime pictures of the U.S. Can you relate to just, we don't know what darkness is, right? But there are places that are just dark. How about this picture? That line right there. What a stark line, right? South Korea, North Korea. The light up above is China, okay? That whole dark area is North Korea. And not just dark because of a lack of electricity, just dark because they're shut off from the rest of the world, just isolated. And I think that's when we think about darkness, true darkness, we think about that kind of isolation. In fact, it is said by scientists that if you were in a space of total darkness for an extended period of time, you'd go crazy. You don't think about it, but we just rely so much on our sense of sight to orient our lives and give us direction and purpose. So June of 2018, a young football team in Thailand were exploring a cave, And they went deep into the cave, and then a torrential rainstorm came and flooded out the first part of that cave, and they were trapped in there. You remember the story probably. It took place over 3 or 4 weeks that they had to deal with this, and all these untold millions of dollars went into rescuing these young people from this cave. You ever been in a cave? If you ever go to a cave, like a tour of a cave, you go down there, and it's just common practice. Okay, everybody turn off your lights, and they turn off all the lights, and you just sit there for a few moments, and you go, okay, this is darkness. I thought I knew what darkness was. Right? Can't even see your hand right in front of your face. We know that to be true of physical light. What we may not realize is that we desperately need spiritual light as well to orient us, to give us a sense of our place in the world, of our past, of our future. We need that spiritual. Over 150 times in Scripture, the writers talk about light and darkness. From the beginning, the state of the universe, first thing God made was what? Light. Right? Light. We talked about it in class. Even before sun and moon, don't ask me how, okay? But it's telling for us that before anything else, God says there's got to be light. To the closing chapters of the book of Revelation, when God tells John that the devil and all of his demons will be rounded up and imprisoned, and he describes that imprisonment not as fire in this passage, but as total darkness. And we have the whole story right there, don't we? God brings light. Satan is darkness. David knew all about what darkness was. He spent several years running from King Saul. And, he had already been anointed king, and yet he experienced none of the glory of being king. Probably wondered whether the anointing was a mistake. Wasn't really sure if God was even there watching out after him to make sure that he was going to survive another day. You could probably relate with that idea. The preacher says everything's going to work out, but I have no sense of it working out in my life, and it's just all darkness to me. And here's what David says. Lord, you are my lamp. The Lord turns my darkness into light. When Jesus speaks, he says, you are light. Now, I don't know that you really think about that. I hang around with a lot of Christian people. You can imagine why. So I'm kind of like in a room with a lot of night lights glowing, okay? But on occasion after occasion, I have an opportunity to talk with people who have no clue. In fact, they're pursuing wholeness and peace and joy, and they're doing everything that's not going to lead to that. And they think they're on the path to all those things. And you just want to go, has someone turned the light on? Can you see this? And the truth is, a lot of people in our world can't. And we see the pain of it, and we see the heartache of it. Don't be mistaken by that and go, man, that's just tough for them. I'm glad I'm not in their shoes. No, you're not in their shoes, not because you're just that much smarter. You're not in their shoes because you've seen light. and they have not. They're still trapped in darkness. You are light. And then he says this, you are the light of the world. And that, it boggles my mind, because I feel like sometimes at best I'm light in the garage of my house. You know, I'm light in the corner of my little corner of the world. But Jesus says you are light to an entire planet of people. When the prophets talked about the coming of the Messiah, they used light and darkness language. Here's what they said. The people walking in darkness have seen a great light, and on those living in the land of darkness, light has dawned. And you know how that is. In pitch blackness, it doesn't take a lot of lumens to brighten up the space. You are that. Jesus says to the crowds, he goes, I'm light for this world. And even with the flaws of the church, and we can probably list them all afternoon, right? Even with the flaws of the people sitting not next to you. You don't sit to those people. The people across the aisle, okay? Even with the flaws of those people, let me tell you, the church has been a beacon of light for this world from its inception. The church has built hospitals. They've fed the hungry. They've supported widows and single moms. They've sought peace and reconciliation. They sacrifice self for the good of others. When people tell you, or if they tell you, the world would be better off if it wasn't for all these Christian people, let me tell you, don't believe it. The church has been the single greatest source of human flourishing for desperate people the world has ever known. We are light, and we are light to the world. And that's why we support Room at the Inn. And that's why we participate in food drives. And that's why at Christmas time, we have a Christmas tree back there, and you bring gifts, and you bring jackets and coats. And that's why we take food to Krista Butler, who's just undergone double mastectomy surgery. And that's why we help Susan White move. We don't do those things just because we want to feel good about ourselves. We do those things because Jesus calls us to be light for a darkened world. We share that because in doing that, we reveal the nature of Jesus. This is part of what we do. The Sermon on the Mount jumps from this light of the world talk to this whole litany of how this should play out in the way we treat one another, how we handle those who want to harm us, how we care for the needy. All that stuff is laid out throughout the Sermon on the Mount. It's because in doing those things, we are revealing God's nature to people. Years ago, I took a group of 8th graders up to the Northeast. I got a lot of stars in my crown for that one, okay? Went to the Northeast in New York, and we worked for a small church there for a couple of weeks, just doing acts of kindness for people in their community. And while here in the Midwest, that may not, make national news, up in the Northeast, people were like, why are you doing this? What do you want for this? What now? Who are you again? It was light in a jaded and dark world. And hopefully it wasn't just that we raked their yard. Hopefully it's because when they said, why are you doing this? We had to train our 8th graders, okay? We're doing this because we're disciples of Jesus, and this is what he's like. That's what it means to be light in a dark world. But it also means that we share that message with people. We tell people about Jesus. This is what it means to be light for a darkened world. Jesus' final instruction to his disciples before he ascends is what? Go and make disciples of all people, baptizing them to a new relationship with their Creator, teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you, guide them and instruct them and improve their knowledge and their behavior. All this is to further the kingdom of God. Being light in a dark world means that when you have a coworker who gets fired and they're wondering, this was their whole sense of purpose, this job was, that you can be there as light with the message of hope that, you're bigger, you're more important than your job. Your value is not seen in what you do, but who God has created you to be. And when your neighbor's marriage is disintegrating, and they come to us asking for advice, we got to say, you know what, we're just human people, and we have our struggles too, but let me tell you, our marriage holds together through hard times because of what Jesus brings to our relationship. And when a friend is overcome by the shame of a moral failure, wondering, are they ever going to get past this? Is this going to be who they are from this point forward? You come to them with a message of hope going, you know what, God can forgive anything that you've done or said. And it can be eradicated. You don't have to be that person. If we truly believe that God offers us purpose and healing and forgiveness, why would we not share that with other people? We're the light of the world. But here's the final point. Jesus was not talking to the church. When we talk about being called to be the light of the world, especially in this environment here, the question that comes to mind is oftentimes, what can Maryland Heights Church of Christ do to be the light of the world? And that's a great question, and we're going to address that. Down the road, we're going to address that. But let me tell you, Jesus wasn't talking to the church. The church hadn't even been fully positioned then. No, Jesus was talking to a crowd of Galilean misfits. In fact, when Luke records maybe this same story, if not a similar situation where Jesus is delivering many of the same points of his sermon, Luke says this: the crowds that came to hear him speak, he says they were sick and they were injured, and some of them were troubled by the evil spiritual powers that just enslaved them. These are the people that showed up. These aren't the seminary-trained experts. These aren't the people who've been in faith for generations. These are not the people we ask to come up and do the Lord's Supper talk up here. These people are us. And Jesus says, I'm not asking for a program here. I'm not asking for you guys to develop some kind of outreach ministry. What I'm saying is this: you are the light of the world. Every one of us can be that kind of light for people. In fact, Jesus says this: so let your light shine that they may see your, you know what he says here? Good deeds, and that they may glorify your Father in heaven. You know, he's not asking for the impossible here. What he's saying is this: you have received the light of the world through Jesus. He has transformed who you are, how you behave, and your outlook in life. If you will go and share the good deeds that will well up inside of you, if you'll go and share those good deeds with others, so that they will not praise you but praise your Father in heaven, you're being light to the world. So throughout this year, from time to time, we're going to hit on this theme. And I want you to be thinking about that. Because I think we have this sense of comfort that we just like to hang out with a lot of 100-watt light bulbs. And we just all come together and be light together. But that's not our mission, is it? The mission is not to come and see how many bright bulbs we can gather together in one auditorium. The mission is light to a dark world. And so I want to begin just affirming that calling today. I want you to repeat it after me, okay? Got 3 statements here. I'd prefer you to repeat it and believe it. But I'm okay if you repeat it in hopes of believing it, okay? We are the light of the world. Let me hear it.
We are the light of the world.
Our church is the light of our community. I am the light for those in darkness around me. How about it? So today, you can start today, but guaranteed tomorrow. You go to work, you go to school, you go to the mall, whatever, you're going to be stepping into a world, I guarantee you, you're going to meet somebody who's walking in darkness. That's not even an unsure bet, okay? You're going to come in contact with somebody who's walking in darkness. Here's a challenge. And maybe tomorrow you begin with this prayer. God, today I want to be the light of the world. So begin by giving me eyes to see those who are walking in darkness around me. If that's your prayer in the morning, I guarantee you're going to have some story to tell by the time you get home. I'm not saying you got to show them the Joel Miller film strips, okay? That's an old illustration. I'm just saying go out and be light among people who are really, really struggling in darkness, but desperately want to know what it is to be in God's great glowing light. Let's stand and sing this song together.